Let's go. So, okay. And here we go. Welcome everybody. Welcome back to the Innovators Roundtable. Tonight we are extremely fortunate to be joined by our special guest, Eric Olsen. Eric has been in the game development space for a couple of years and has generously offered to share a bit about his journey and reasons behind his decision to move from licensing his games to launching his own company, Messy Table Games. For those of you meeting Eric for the first time, he's a talented game designer who, in addition to creating games, has also worked as a teacher and principal both at the high school and college levels. While successfully licensing 2 popular board games, Eric made the bold choice to bring his creations to market on his own. And again, tonight we'll be learning about the motivations, his motivations and his experiences that led to that decision. Since we have members at various stages of their own product development journeys, I'll open the call with just a brief review of Eric's games and cover some of the basics of his experience just to get everybody on the same page. And then we'll open up the floor for all of your questions. It's a fantastic opportunity to gain insights from somebody who's navigated both licensing and entrepreneurship. So please get yourself your pen, paper, get ready to go. As you know, if you've been here before, we cover a lot of information during our calls, and you'll be glad that you came prepared. It's really just the heart of our networking group here to hear from everybody. So feel free to raise your hand, or if you have a burning question, you can't stand waiting, you can go ahead and shout it out. I do try to enjoy these sessions as more of a conversation than an interview. So that said, if you have any background noise like that, I didn't cue that one. I don't know where that came from, but perfect timing. If you have background noise, please mute yourselves. Otherwise, feel free to stay unmuted. And what else? Oh, other thing, a lot of us are maybe meeting some of each other for the first time. So feel free to put your LinkedIn profile link in the chat. And that way you can be connected to the incredible members of this group who I feel so fortunate to have crossed paths with. So thanks again to everybody for being here tonight. And huge thank you to Eric. I'm so excited to hear all about your journey. You've been very busy over the last 2 years. So I guess without further ado, we will jump into some questions. And these are going to be, actually, you know what? Let's not do that. First, Eric, do you happen to have your games on hand, a couple of your games that you can share? And maybe we can just review. We could start out with GLYPHICS, which is your first licensing game that you licensed in 2022, correct? Oh, you're muted.
There we go. My shelf is starting to get better.
It's looking lovely. Yeah. So first we have GLYPHICS, and this is again your first licensing deal. And while you're showing us, yeah, please.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say this is your first licensing deal. While you maybe show us some of the parts, if you want, you can take it apart a little bit, show us some of the pieces. How long did this take from ideation to get your first deal?
So came up with the game kind of in the summer on a messy table. And so a couple of years later, when I decided to start the company, that's how we got the name of the company. And just making some shapes on a table with my kids with the stuff that was on the table, you know, just random crap that's on your table. We all have that. And we kind of had fun. And then I thought, ooh, the junk drawer, dump the junk drawer. My people love that. Your junk drawer only has in it. And so my son suggested that we get a 3D printer, and we started printing shapes. And the idea of GLYPHICS is just like Pictionary, except instead of drawing, you're using the pieces to make the shapes.
Right.
So I had never invented a game. I've just been playing games my whole life, like a lot of other game designers. And so by December, we were printing lots of pieces, and December was the first time I sent them off to my friends in little Ziplocs. here you
Oh,
go.
okay.
Try it out. And I got feedback and, started making different sets of pieces and different colors of pieces, started really getting into the words on the cards. And by February, it finally occurred to me that this could actually be something,
Okay.
maybe, right?
Yep.
So it took a while because I wasn't it hadn't occurred to me that I could actually make a game that I could sell. That
Okay.
wasn't the intent at the beginning. So I actually did a patent search. Um, in hindsight, just so you know, for a lot of you that are doing products,
Mm-hmm.
patent searches and patents are more important than if you're a game designer.
Okay.
If you're doing a card game or a board game, most mechanics are not patentable. There's nothing really to patent with a card game.
Okay.
Uh, so, trademark the name, but you don't necessarily need to pursue a patent. In the end, I did end up pursuing a patent because the pieces for this game are so different. Nobody else had done it. But on my other games, not patenting. So IP is its own whole conversation.
Totally.
But anyway, when we didn't find anything, didn't find any other games, decided to proceed with it. By June, I was ready.
Okay.
So I didn't know. By that point, I finally learned that there's self-publishing and licensing. It took me almost a year to learn that. And but in that time, so I got my game licensed, right? And it ended up going to Target, but I haven't pitched yet.
Okay.
So how is that? So um, just like, oh, who was it? Wesley is
Hmm.
this fellow that you're trying to meet with. Possibly he might be a mentor to you, right? If he doesn't license your game, maybe he'd be a mentor, right? So I reached out to Bananagrams. It's
Yep.
a great game.
Yeah.
And I knew that Bananagrams was family run.
Okay.
I sent an email to their info,
Yep.
no contacts or anything, just info Bananagrams. Hey, I'm making a game with my family, just like you made one with yours. Is there anybody I could chat with?
Okay.
Rena Nathanson, the CEO of Bananagrams, uh, got back in touch with me, and we had a couple of conversations. Just
Wow.
crazy. There's some really nice people out there,
Wow. How generous.
and she connected me with an attorney. The attorney connected me with the manufacturer. The manufacturer said, when your game's done, we manufacture games, so like Bananagrams.
Mm-hmm.
And we know a lot of companies that might be interested in your game. It sounds like a great idea. So get
Wow.
back a hold of me. So in June, I got back a hold of him and said, hey, these are the companies that you work with that I think would be a good match for my game. And
Mm-hmm.
he said, hey, why don't you send me your game? We've developed our own portfolio and we're interested in putting your game in it. And anyway, to sum
Wow.
it up, very unique set of circumstances
Yeah.
where his vice president of development took my game and started having meetings with all these great companies and pitching my game for me.
Wow.
So at that point, it didn't take long. It was less than 6 weeks before we
Wow.
were negotiating a license for it.
That is huge. That's wild. So it's really
Very
interesting.
strange.
Yeah, with licensing, there is no like A to B. It's usually A to J to K to D and then back around sometimes. And I like to highlight that for people because it's such a common question, like how long should it take? And there's so many factors. And this is a great example of you just don't know.
You don't know. And I was told that the speed that we did that with, he hadn't seen that before.
Yeah.
So he said, don't expect it in the future. But here's the thing. I also wasn't set on licensing.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Okay.
kind of told him the royalty rate that I wanted. He told
Okay.
me that royalty rate was not common.
Okay.
If you've done any Googling, royalty rates on board games typically fall between 4 to 6%. So the 5 is the average, right, Michelle?
Okay.
And I feel personally that sometimes that's fair and sometimes it's not fair. It
Mm-hmm.
probably depends on the company, depends on the game, and depends on the length of the contract and a bunch of other things. So
And
I
how
kind
much
of
you've
set
done
my,
for it, and how much you've done for it.
so my game was done. So one of the pushbacks that I had was, well, if they don't want it, I'll just do it myself.
Yeah.
So, and I was told that that's unusual. A lot of game designers just pitch a concept, but they don't really have a finished game.
Yeah.
So my game was ready to, I felt it was ready to go.
So when you say you felt it was ready to go, you had the prototype created with the, so, and let me step back quickly for those who haven't seen the game. Again, it's sort of like Pictionary, but instead of drawing, you have little flat kind of stick-like shapes, like a hangman or just a circle or a triangle, and you move those shapes around on a flat surface, your table, to create other types of images. You
Sure.
have 140.
It's like a company.
There you go.
Move the pieces around and stuff like that.
Okay, so again, when you said you were ready to go, you had already 3D prototyped those pieces, and I guess you printed the cards, the 140 cards that go with it. Is that what you mean when you say ready to go, or just like fully like flushed out?
So I had done the prototypes originally,
Okay.
but the manufacturer that was whose person was pitching my game for me,
Mm-hmm.
at the same time I had him give me the quote
Oh, okay.
to do. So he had given me a quote for 5,000 games.
Okay.
So I told him if I don't get it licensed by X date, then we're just going to go ahead. We're going to go ahead and do it ourselves. My prototype was actually a pretty good prototype because I went ahead and hired a professional artist.
Nice.
And worked with him for 3 months to do the artwork.
Okay.
So I don't have it up here. The artwork that I ended up was different than this, but I think it's as good.
Okay. Yeah.
So it really was pretty much ready to go.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
You know,
So you're a manufacturer. Are they overseas or are they in the States?
their headquarters is in the States.
Okay.
Their factories that they work with are all overseas.
Okay.
It's coming out this fall. We're trying another partner that's located in Mexico City.
Oh,
So,
interesting.
looks pretty good so far. So we'll see how that goes.
Okay, awesome. So as I mentioned, I will probably be all over the place because I have so many questions and there's a lot to cover, but I want to jump to the next licensing deal to sort of get more caught up on your journey here. So the second licensing deal is the Flip 7. Is that correct? The card game?
Yeah.
Okay, and that just launched like yesterday or something? Is that the idea in San Diego
So
Comic-Con?
it's a good segue because it just launched last week.
Congratulations.
But it's been in the works for a very, very long time. Okay. So I've made over a dozen games, but this was my second game. So it's been play tested hundreds and hundreds of times. Like my own groups of friends, it's just a regular game that we play all the time.
Okay.
And, the first took the second game and said, "This is great." They took it to London. They took it all over the place. But this is during COVID or just after COVID. And game companies were kind of they had a lot of inventory. People weren't really interested in new games. People liked it, but nobody was pulling the trigger on it.
Okay.
And so why would I go from licensing to starting my own company, right?
Yeah.
And how come the game's just getting licensed now?
Yeah.
When it was done 2 years ago. It was done 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So it was getting shown. There was good response. Didn't get an offer. And at the same time, one of my friends came up to me and said, "You know what? You have so many games. These are great. Why don't we start our own company? Why don't you try launching a game?" And we said, "Okay, if nobody makes an offer by January, let's do the card game because it's as small an investment as we can make. Card games are pretty inexpensive. A card game for about $2. We did units, but you could go as 2,000 units if you wanted to, right?
Okay.
So of course we go ahead in January. So a year and a half ago, finally I'm like, that's it. I'm going to do it myself. I was a little fed up, and I feel I'll tell you the other reason. And of course, in February, a month after I get started, then I get contacted.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Then somebody reaches out to me when I've already paid the artist and gotten started.
Right. Right.
I turned down the first offer. I told them I didn't think it was enough, and I was already in the process. And then 6 weeks later, they came back again, and we had another conversation.
Wow.
That conversation lasted from March till October.
Whew.
We signed the agreement in October, and the game just launched last week.
Oh my goodness.
So that's this game.
I mean, it's all about the relationships, I guess. Once you're in good with one guy, then they're going to support you all the way through, aren't they?
The relationships and the networking, one of the absolute biggest takeaways.
Mm-hmm.
Is do the LinkedIn and do the Instagram. I will say this though, I haven't been to any shows.
Oh wow.
My model is different. It's different than traditional, than what a lot of people that are in my space are doing.
Okay.
So a lot of people in my space don't do their own Amazon. They turn it over to somebody else. And instead, what they try to handle on their own is going to all the shows, which are really expensive, $5,000 to $10,000 per show, and making the contacts. That's the great part.
Yeah.
I suppose you could go to a show and not present just to meet everybody and build the relationships. Right? Yeah. But presenting at the shows is very expensive, and they're getting the brick and mortar, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're not getting Target or Walmart, by the way. You're getting the smaller stores, and you have to build up your reputation and before Target or Walmart or somebody's going to take a look at you.
Yeah.
So our approach has been different. I talked to an awesome lady in England, and her approach was, I'm just going to do e-commerce.
Yeah.
She started with one game. Now she's got 7 games.
Wow.
And now she has a team of 6 people. She doesn't do shows except just to go visit. She doesn't even really do brick and mortar except what people come to her, right?
Wow.
So in the United States, Amazon is 60% of all the retail that happens.
Okay.
And it's not just that. The mom and pop stores, it feels good. Like I live in Boise, Idaho, and the local stores all carry my games, and I go hand deliver them, and we talk, and it's great, and it feels good, and it's awesome. But it's a tough way to make money across the country, is sending 6 games here and 12 games there, and that's tough.
Yep.
So our plan is to continue on Amazon, putting out more games until we have a line of games. And then if somebody wants to partner with us to distribute the line of games, maybe.
Yeah.
And they have that infrastructure that we don't have, because they've been going to all the shows.
Yes.
And they've been building up, that system. So then we take less money, but we don't have to do the work behind it.
Speaking of the bigger stores, like the Target, you mentioned you have GLYPHICS across the country in Target. Was that part of your contract? Did you know their distribution plan when you signed that Target would be one of the main retailers?
That's a great question. So I knew that they had a very good relationship with Target.
Okay.
They told me it was likely that they could get it in Target. Okay. So I'll say this, it was super exciting. I went to Target and took, pictures. Hey, here I am with my game. But 2 years later, that company is out of business and my game is out of Target.
Oh, no.
And one of the reasons is because a lot of their eggs were in that Target basket.
Wow. Okay.
And when that didn't, not just my game, like they had a great relationship with Target, but Target started asking for more money from publishers to do their own advertising and stuff like that. Very expensive.
Jeez, Louise. Wow.
So what happened, what's happened since then is, to sum it up, I bought the rest of my inventory back
Okay.
and found another publisher.
Wow.
So I just relicensed GLYPHICS
Okay.
this October,
Okay.
and it will come out. It'll be reissued in 2025 with a few extra pieces and newer cards and probably a facelift.
Oh, very exciting. I mean, I know it has really great reviews, 4.9 on Amazon already, so that's a great start. Okay. So at this point now you have, well, before I forget too, you did have your Flip 7 released at Comic-Con, and one of the really interesting things that happened with that is that you had a drink sort of designated or designed in your honor. Well, how did that come to be? Like, where, how, I mean, it seems like incredible publicity, and I'm sure there's thousands of other people that would have loved. It was like one of 3, I think, specialty drinks on offer. How did that come to be?
I wish I could have been there, but
Yeah.
You're really choppy. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. So
I'm
Eric, you
happy.
are a little choppy. I don't know if you have like a, I don't know, like
Well, I
way
was
to-
getting messages that Eric, your bandwidth is low. So I don't know if there, maybe if everyone turns their mics off or their cameras off, we might be able to get better sound or something. I don't quite often.
I've shut off everything I can shut off.
Okay.
No.
Your sound is better than your video. Your audio is pretty good. It pauses occasionally. Your audio your video is freezing quite a bit, but
Yeah.
the main thing is that we can hear you, and we'll just hang in
Let's
there
see.
and hope it.
Let's try this.
Okay, sounds
Let's just try this for now, and we'll
okay.
see if it kind of comes and goes.
I was
So,
kind of thinking that other people could do that, not so much you.
oh,
Other, yeah.
I'm not a tech person, so if that's something that we should all be doing, does that, I mean, is that a thing people do? I don't know anything
I've
about.
seen it done in other videos,
All right,
that
so
I've other
people
webinars and stuff. So when people take their cameras off, there seems to be better connections.
all right,
Maybe,
folks, can
I
you
don't know,
try
maybe I'm just.
turning? We'll try it. Let's just try it really quickly. It'll only take a second. If you guys can shut your cameras off. Thanks, everybody. And then we'll see you again in a little bit, I hope. Hi, Andrew.
oh, there's Andrew.
Andrew.
Hello.
You're acting up, Andrew. You're supposed to turn your camera off, not on.
Oh, I went from off to on, but I think it's
I know you
mainly
did.
the person who's actually having the issue. But you can try it with it off.
Okay, we'll give it a shot.
Well,
Give it a shot.
we'll give it a quick try.
Okay.
The company that I licensed Flip 7 to, and as it turns out, is going to also do GLYPHICS, is USAopoly, and they're a very well-respected company and a well-loved company. They're a pretty big company,
Okay.
and they have a very smart marketing department and a talented marketing department. So I wish I could tell you I had something to do with that, but I didn't. They came up with some pre-launch stuff that they could do. One of them was they really liked the game.
Okay.
So they're kind of going all out. They made these little promotional decks and they gave them away at Gen Con.
Wow.
And so it's just headed to stores right now.
Wow. Do you know how many decks they gave out?
3,000.
Wow, what incredible publicity.
Wow.
Speaking of that too, you have a lot of press, and I've talked to quite a few innovators that don't usually that haven't been very proactive in that regard. So you've been on local news stations, you've been in educational newsletters, on Mojo Nation. Are you proactively seeking out these opportunities? And if so, are you seeing a return from the attention that you're getting?
I really wasn't. I'm a
Yeah.
teacher, I'm an educator and a principal,
Yes.
and so I got some help from a marketing person at our school, which was really nice. He's a super great guy.
Okay.
And that's how educational ones came about. Mojo Nation came about because I launched my game about the same time as another fellow was launching his game. Both of us were connected with that manufacturer, GPI, and we had this great conversation about, should I license or should I self-publish? I mean, it's the eternal question, right? Should I do
Yes.
it myself or
Yes.
should I license it? At the time, I was licensing, and the other fella was self-publishing.
Right.
And we had this conversation, and David Blanchard, who was with GPI, said, "This is a great conversation. Let's bring in Mojo and let's redo the conversation." And we had Eric Poses also in that conversation, and so we redid the conversation. It was great. I don't know what effect that has on.
Okay.
I mean, I think locally, I sold more games in Boise for sure. You know, being on the news locally.
Good.
But it's fun. Those interviews and things are great. Everybody in this space, most of the folks are just awesome to talk to.
Yeah, it seems like a really, really fun category to be creating in. So I know one of the questions we have in the chat, Jude has asked, and I kind of have a follow-up to that. You had mentioned you have friends playing your games, you have family members, and I know you had said in a different interview that you had strangers also trying out your games. Jude has asked, are your kids playing games? So I don't know, Jude, I don't know if Jude means your students, or because I've as a professor in a previous life, they were my kids too. So you might have that habit of calling your students your children, but so are your students playing your games? Are you doing NDAs? How are you finding the strangers, the random people that you have test them out? And then are you doing NDAs with them? How do you go about all of that?
So the first thing is that play testing in my case, but feedback, no matter what your product is the number one most essential thing.
Yeah.
And you always be open to feedback. Ask for the feedback, no matter what type of feedback you get. Make the best use of it that you can, and you're just going to get a better and better and better product. Are my kids playing games? My kids are playing, but they're playing D&D. They are not online right now. I can shut my camera off if that might help them. My kids. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Let's try to keep the camera on so it's not just me talking into the.
Yeah, I don't think it's making much of a difference.
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, if everyone else wants to join us, I'd love to see this too. Sorry.
Yeah, I like seeing everybody if we can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, my connection.
Andrew,
my connection is.
Oh, the connection does actually sound a little bit worse all of a sudden.
Sorry, Eric, we haven't had this really happen before, so we're learning as we go here, but.
Well, Idaho internet.
Now, Eric, out of curiosity there, when you said, your friends all play, are they playing because this is what you guys naturally do? Or are there other like game inventor friends that you're with, or do they just want to support you? Or like, is this something that you would have done anyways,
I have a couple game groups here in Boise, and another one of those friends that I've had for a long time.
Can't hear anything. Can't hear a thing. Am I the only one that can't hear him?
It could be weather related, or someone's playing games and taking up a lot of bandwidth. That's why.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Well, Eric says low bandwidth. Eric, yeah. Whenever you talk and you get your screen, yeah.
It's on his side. That's why he's something.
Did we lose Eric?
I think maybe he signed off and
maybe he's gonna try to pop back in then, yeah.
Pop back on.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Variants. Oh, wait, I think we
It's
might
just
be in.
to see if my kids are.
This
Can you
looks
hear me
good.
again?
This is better, definitely better. So far, at least. Let's knock on wood and keep our fingers crossed.
There we go.
Yep, you're good, Eric.
I have some groups, luckily, that like to play games,
Nice.
and so I'm really lucky that way. But for example, this game is going to come out in September, and it's targeted really at younger families.
Oh, nice.
My kids are teenagers now,
Mhm.
so I grabbed some families that walk their kids to school in front of my house,
Oh, wow.
you know,
Okay.
and
I'll
said,
fail
hey,
your
you know,
kid unless.
so, you know, they see me every day and I see them. We don't really know each other. They're kind of my neighbors. And I'm like, hey, do your kids
Yeah.
like games? Would you want to, you know, try this game? Let me know what you think. And then I get the feedback and then I can, you know, move forward. So the feedback has been super helpful. As a matter of fact, some of the best parts of some of my games have come from my friends. I can't take credit for it. The name for booty dice, I didn't even come up with the name of the game. You know,
Oh,
I had a boring name like pirate dice.
Okay. Right. We haven't even gotten to booty dice yet. But before we do, because the feedback is so critical in developing your products, and because these concepts are so precious to so many of us, sharing them can be very nerve-wracking. So in terms of protecting yourself and protecting your idea, again, do you do an NDA with the people that play, or do you just kind of say, you know what, I trust you, you're my community, and you have your own, you know, plate full of things you need to be dealing with. I'm not going to worry about it. How do you go about that?
I don't really worry about it.
Okay.
I would have maybe if I went to a game convention and played it with 50 people I don't know.
Yeah.
But you really find, like Wesley's finding, it's not the easiest thing to do.
Right.
You know,
That's such a
most
good point.
people, you could give them the idea and they're not going to go anywhere with the idea
Right.
because it takes work. You need to go out and you need to make the connections and you need to keep going after it until you can make it happen. A lot of people have great ideas,
Yeah.
but the follow through, you know, the follow through can be difficult, or it can just take a while. It can, you know, maybe be disappointing or frustrating.
Mhm.
And most people, you know, they're too busy to want to take on something like that.
That's such a great point. Wesley has a question. Oh, thank you for that. That's a great question. Wesley asked, do you have a formal like intake kind of suggestion form, or is it just kind of word of mouth or a little text message here or there? Or how are you getting the feedback?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I know people that have a form.
Okay.
I've tried it actually asking for, you know, write down the feedback. Most of the time people just want to tell me, so
Yeah.
I write it down.
Okay.
So
You are the form,
they
yeah.
say, oh, you should try this, or you should change this color, or, you know, that part of the game was way too slow, or, you know, whatever it is. And I write it down, I go back and make the changes, and then we come back and we try it again.
Right.
When you have people play testing, do you give them instructions and like let them go and see what happens, or do you tell them how to play?
Michelle. So at the beginning, I found that I was, you know, oh, play it this way, you know, do this, do this. That's not a good test.
Right.
So I've learned to, when I bring a new game, I give the instructions to one of my friends and I pretend I'm just like anybody else, because the instructions you'll see on Amazon, if you read reviews and stuff, instructions are really, really, really important. The instructions need to be clear and all those types of things. And you might think they're clear,
Right.
but that's because you already know everything in your head.
For sure.
So Michelle, that's a great question. So now I let somebody else do the instructions. And with this game that I showed you, that's for younger families, I actually suggested, and the families tried, having their 10 and 12-year-olds run the game. using the instructions, which was great.
Mm.
Yep. Great
I
perspective.
know they always say it's good to let the game just go and see what happens, see what players do with them. You know, did they change things up, or you know, they change up the rules and all of a sudden maybe it's a better game or something like that.
Mhm.
So yeah, interesting. You're lucky you
Absolutely.
got all those play testers. That's the hardest thing for me, is getting the play testers, like reliable play testers. You know, things always seem to come up. Yeah, it's tough. But yeah, congratulations. And I think it was the Board Game Geeks there. They're raving all about you and everything. So yeah, it's like I'm really happy for your successes there. It's kind of it came in a big wave, I think, everything kind of all at once, you know. I'm saying all
It's
at
a
once.
big
I know it's
year,
been
and
like a year or two, but it's like that they're all kind of
Yeah.
falling into play. Excuse the pun.
Snowballing.
Yeah.
you know, we'll see how things go. I'm really excited. Flip 7 has got a home at USAopoly.
Yeah.
They're working really hard to promote it. Booty Dice, which we haven't talked about yet, is
Yeah.
having a pretty good, it's coming along pretty well. I don't want to put the cart ahead of the horse, though. I'm trying to keep
You got
my
other people,
expectations.
you got other people throwing it in front though. Yeah. They're rooting for you. The big guys are rooting for you. So it's bad.
It's
I can
exciting.
imagine it not doing well with them behind you, you know?
I hope so.
And
Yeah.
with Booty Dice, if I'm remembering correctly, that was the one you just had on Amazon, correct? During the Amazon Prime days, and you sold two weeks of games within 24 hours. Was that
A month, but yeah,
a
2 weeks
month's worth of games?
in the 2 days.
Okay.
We sold a month's worth of games. It was crazy.
And I saw it went from being 30 in the dice game category to being 6th most popular. What do
Yeah,
you
right
think?
up there with like Farkle.
So how do you think that happened? I know you said you had given you had done a small discount, but was there anything else that happened within that time frame that you attribute that huge extension to it? Like how do you go from 30 to 6 just because you do a 20% off discount? It seems, I don't know, like there must have been some other magic behind the scenes.
So that's a really good question. So I have been reaching out to people for the last 2 years as much as I can, asking questions and doing all that kind of stuff. And I told you there was another reason I decided to self-publish. One of them is because I've talked to several people that licensed for 20 years and licensed dozens of games and then changed their mind and decided to self-publish because of the finances of it.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm reaching out to people, but I couldn't find anybody that did their own Amazon. I know there are people, but I still haven't found them yet. So my partner and I have been trying to figure out Amazon since we launched Booty Dice back in November. So it's really trial by fire, right?
Wow.
So we actually run our own ad campaigns. We do our own keywords. We did originally our own pictures and A+ content. We did finally hire somebody to give us better A+ content. That's when you scroll down and you see more and more stuff.
Yep.
But we're the ones behind the scenes doing this stuff. So to try to answer your question, we've been trying to figure out ads for 6 months.
Okay.
And Prime Days was coming.
Yep.
Our little discussion that we had was, do we even do it?
Mm-hmm.
Because 20% is $4 off of a $20 game. So that's a huge part of our margin. If we do it, should we shut our ad campaigns off? We're paying for ads and we're paying the discount.
Yeah.
And we thought we'll try it for 1 day. Maybe we'll just try it for 12 hours and go ahead and shut it off. We'll just see what happens. And what happened was we spent the same amount of money on ads.
Okay.
Conversion rate went through the roof.
Wow. Wow.
And I don't, to really answer your question, I'm not sure why, because most people were running discounts.
I was curious about that. Yeah.
So maybe some people didn't run discounts, maybe. So we jumped
Maybe.
ahead of them.
Was there a big like pirate convention or something that week too? Is there some interesting overlap that would have brought the attention to the game?
You know,
Yeah,
I don't know.
do you have the booty dice behind you? I can't quite tell if is it that one on the left? Do you want to show the group? And then you guys, I can ask questions for the next 18 hours straight probably, but if anyone else has any questions, please don't hesitate. Now is the time. We're coming up on the hour already somehow. So yes,
Oh.
there's the booty dice. Such a
So
cool packaging.
Great
So
graphics.
I'll just say a little bit about this, and then
Yes.
let's open it up. I would love to stick around because I got booted and we started a little late. So first of all, the art on this is spectacular. If you're familiar with the game Forbidden Island, it's the same artist. I reached out to him because I liked his artwork and said, "You want to do a pirate game?"
Okay.
And he's like, "Yeah, I'll do a pirate game."
Nice.
So this is a type of artwork you would normally see on a bigger game, not on a little tiny game like this. And so remember when I told you I had decided I was going to do this game myself, the Flip 7 game,
Right.
and then USA Opera got in touch with me. Well, we decided we would pivot. We would do the next game. So we started work on this game in February, March, and we got it on Amazon by November.
Okay.
So it's been 7 months or 8 months or so that it's been out.
Wow. Okay, that's great.
And here's an interesting thing, because you said GLYPHICS is doing well. It's got a 4.9. It's got 50 reviews. It's been out for 2 years.
Okay.
And I'm really glad the reviews are good.
Yeah.
But it only has 50 reviews. This game has been out for 8 months. It has 130 reviews.
Right.
People can't buy a product that they don't know about.
Right. Right.
So nobody's been advertising GLYPHICS. It's a great game, but nobody's pushing it. This game, we're running our own advertising campaign, and our goal for the first 6 months was just break even.
Yeah.
Because we're in it for the long term, right? So we took all of the money that we made and dumped it back into ads as we have been learning how to run an ad campaign.
Right.
So for the first 3 or 4 months, we made less than $1 a game, but now we're making more like $5 a game.
Okay.
We're still dumping most of it back in.
Yeah.
But it's, we're learning as we go.
Yeah, absolutely. So Edgar has his hand up. What would you like to chat about, Edgar?
Thank you, Jen. Congratulations, Eric.
Thank you.
You're doing great, man. Your story is very similar to Robert Angel of Pictionary, right? And I don't know if you read his book, it's called Game Changer, and I do recommend it. I also fell in love with game design. There's something about it that reflects life. It's you have so many psychological, sociology. You also have like sociology, anthropology, and all this stuff. And as a content creator and author, I really don't have problems with creating like themes and stories and characters and all this stuff. What really baffles me is game mechanics. Game mechanics. There's so many of them. I mean, you have more than 250 in the combinations and all this stuff. So that's what's really confusing. It's really a challenge. To design game mechanics, because you see so many games that are so complicated, like Dooms and all stuff, and when I analyze them, I say to myself, that's not the way I want to design a game. I want to make a game almost organic, almost intuitive, that's easy to pick up and play. And but yes, you have to do all the work, all the homework, talking to a professor, and what do you think about this challenge of game mechanics, Eric?
So that's a great question. So some of the most popular games on the market right now are not games that I particularly like because they're almost too simple. I'll give you an example. One is called Tenzi. You pick up 10 dice and you roll them as fast as you can, and the first person to get 10 of the same wins. But families love the game. Kids love the game. I would have never made that game myself because I would have thought there's no game there. I would have been wrong, though. They've sold millions of games, right? And that's on one end of the spectrum. And then you've got Arkham Horror and Dune Imperium and these other games on the other end of the spectrum. My philosophy is I like to make games that I like to play. That's the first thing.
Okay.
The second thing is my games are designed with some very specific parameters. I want people to be able to learn how to play the game in less than 5 minutes.
Okay.
I want all ages to be able to play the game, and I want the game to wrap up in 15 to 30 minutes.
Yes. Yes.
And those parameters are typically considered mass market types of games. The games that you're talking about, although I like to play them once in a while, those are considered hobby games. They have a very specific cult-like following for those games. They're never going to sell 200,000 or 300,000 of those games, ever. They take too long to play. They're too complicated. But there's a dedicated following for those types of games, which is great. Occasionally I play some of those, but even my friends that love games, it's hard to get a group that'll sit and play a 4 or 5 hour game. I mean, it's hard. It's hard to do that. My friends, maybe, an hour and a half, some of the games that are in that range, we'll do that. So, you can also pick some of the mechanics that you like. I'll just give you one more little anecdote. So I really like a game called Seven Wonders. It's a great game. It's got beautiful artwork. Once you've played it a few times, you can knock it out in 30 to 45 minutes. It's a great game. It's played in 3 rounds. And the main mechanic for this game is you have your cards, you take one, you pass those, the other cards come to you, and it keeps going around. And that's round 1. You do that 3 times. And that's the mechanic. Okay, Edgar. But the game itself is a little complicated at first.
Okay.
This game inventor liked the mechanic, right? So say you're the guy and you're like, man, I like this game, but it's a little complicated. So instead, we made a simplified version of it, and that's how we got the game Sushi Go. If you haven't seen Sushi Go, I'd be really surprised. You're just making little different things of sushi, right?
Yeah.
But what's the mechanic? He purposefully took the mechanic of you get the cards, you take the one you want, you pass them to the left, and that's the game. And he put a cute little theme to it. But kids can pick up Sushi Go just like this.
Yes.
So you can do mechanics that you like particularly. Take a couple games that you like, take a few mechanics, and mash them together. See what happens.
Thank you, Eric.
Thanks, Edgar. Michelle?
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then Andrew?
Sorry. You were talking, I mean, you've had a lot of, you're doing a lot of the right things, and a lot of the right people have really vouched for you. But do you do different types of marketing depending on whether you're like venturing or licensing? Like, would you do a sell sheet or, I mean, I'm guessing you need videos for all of the games, which is one thing that makes it so much harder than a product, you know, is like you need to show the fun, you need to get people, you need the videos and everything. So what is it that you usually use if you're trying to sell your game?
So
If they're not coming to you first.
I'm going to get
you
out
know?
of this one really easily because I'm going to send you to April Mitchell or somebody that has pitched dozens and dozens of games.
Oh, she was my coach. She was my coach.
I have had other people pitch for me.
Wow.
So it's very unusual. Now, if you have somebody pitching for you, you're going to end up having to pay them. You could pay them a flat fee. You could pay them X% of royalties if they actually are able to get it licensed. So there's different ways that you could arrange that. What I know some of my friends do, and what I know that they did when they were pitching my game is they actually did make a sizzle video that was about 30 to 45 seconds. They did a much better job than I could do. And they had a one-page sell sheet.
Okay.
And it had the high points of the game. It had how many players, how long it would take, how much they thought it would cost to produce, which is
On the sell
really
sheet. On
on
the sell
the
sheet.
sell sheet. Because if you're doing your homework and you're pitching to a publisher,
Wow.
and you've done your homework, and you can say this game's $1.75 or it's $2.25 or it's, you know, maybe it's got more components and it's more complicated, so you're up to the $3.50, $3.75, and you can actually price that out a little bit. That's important for them.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. No, thank you. Very interesting. Because I've never done that with anything yet. For me, it's just like I try to show the benefit, I try to show the fun, and then, you know, I go on Amazon and I think it should fit into this price range. You know, it's kind of like a ballpark sort of thing, not an actual number.
And what separates it, Michelle? What's the separator?
What do you mean?
What does the game have that?
Distinct.
What does your game have that's slightly different and
Well, that's what's on.
distinct from the other games that are?
That is what I put on the sell sheet.
Right.
The benefit. Yeah. I haven't
perfect.
shown you myself. I'll actually show it to you, and I'd love your opinion if you wouldn't mind looking at it. Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody, by the way, my LinkedIn, you can get to me through Jennifer. I guess I'm not sure what to put in the chat. I could put something in there, and you can
I'll
also
go ahead
feel
and
free
I'll
to
put it
email
in there for you.
Eric at Messy Table Games. So feel free to do either one.
Thank you.
Andrew.
Yes, hello, Eric. It's really nice to hear all this wonderful stuff. I've already learned a few things, and you know we've chatted a bit. So it's just great whenever I hear an interview, and I always pick up new things even after I've spoken to people. It's wonderful. So my question is regarding Amazon. I was wondering, as a self-publisher, what are you seeing as far as returns, if you don't mind saying, and how have you been dealing with returns? And then I have another Amazon question.
Again, if you're considering self-publishing your product, whatever your product is, it's not as scary as you might think it is. And if anybody wants to talk more about that after the podcast, please reach out to me. So Andrew, you mean specifically like if there's a return, like somebody wants to return the game, is that what you mean? Or are you meaning like my financial returns?
No, the people returning the game, because Amazon has such a friendly return policy. I just wanted to know, most people are somewhere between 5 and 12%. You don't have to say the percentage. I was just wondering, is it a real headache for you?
It's not. As a matter of fact, my partner and I were just talking about this a day or two ago, Andrew. So it's a very timely question. You notice our reviews are really good. We have 130. We're at 4.9 rating, right? My lowest rating is a 3, and there was only one of those. So I know it's going to come, by the way, everybody. Somebody's going to put a 1 in there with no reason. It's going to come. So, but what I noticed the other day is, so I do FBA, Andrew. FBA is fulfillment by Amazon. Almost everybody does it, even though it's expensive.
Yeah.
The reason everybody does it is because the 1 to 2 day shipping, and they also handle all the returns. So I never handle the returns, but I did go in and look at the returns a couple days ago, and it was really interesting. There's something called the voice of the customer. Now, we don't have a lot of returns, but I looked at a couple of them, and one of them said, everybody seems to like this game, but my family thought it was boring. I'm sending it back.
Okay.
And my thought is, this is awesome, because this person, you know, when you send a return back and you type in the little box, like, how come you're returning the thing? Well, instead of this person keeping the game and leaving a bad review for me, what did they do? The return policy is so darn easy that instead of leaving me a bad review, they typed into the little box and said, my family doesn't like this game, that's why we're returning it. But it never shows up on my rating, which is outstanding. And also, Andrew, if you go and look at Booty Dice right now, you scroll down a little ways, it says, this product is returned much less than other products that are similar to it.
Oh, wow.
So that looks good for us.
Wow, that's so interesting. I never saw that. So my follow-up is, can you talk at all about Amazon's Vine program? Was it presented to you as an option? Did you think about it, et cetera, et cetera?
So for those of you that aren't familiar with the Vine program, it's a little risky, but it's interesting. What happens is if you launch a new product, Amazon really pushes it. They really push this program. If you have less than 30 reviews, you can do the Vine program. It doesn't cost very much. It's only a couple $100, and Amazon will send your product, whatever it is, out to people that are part of the Vine program.
Okay.
And in my case, I was hoping it's people that like to play games. So we decided to try it, Andrew, but it's risky. We got, I don't want to say we got lucky because I believe in my game, but we did 10. We signed up for 10. 8 of them were 5s and 2 of them were 4s.
Oh, wow.
But I've looked at some other people's games, and the Vine reviews range down to 2s and 3s as well. So it's a little bit risky. Andrew, what I did when I launched my game is I had 20 family and friends that had already played the game. Some of them were already getting a copy from me. And I said, I really need you to go on Amazon, purchase the game, give it away as a gift for Christmas or something. I know you don't need the copy, but what I need is math. If somebody starts off and
You're completely cutting out, Eric. Can't hear anything.
the very first 5 reviews is a 3-star review, all of a sudden, am I back yet?
Yeah, you're back.
Yeah, keep going. That was just, if you can redo the last, just rewind 30 seconds.
So I make sure that I've got 20 or 25 people that are willing to go ahead and spend the $20 and leave me a 5-star review, because if you do happen to get a bad review early on and all of a sudden your whole rating goes to like 4.1, and I believe that when people see those ratings, it influences their thinking, whether they want it to or not. So what I'm saying is, now that I have 130 reviews and it's 4.9, I believe when somebody buys the game, they're expecting it to be good, and that snowballs. Does that make sense?
It does, and it's like 2 thumbs up from Siskel and Ebert. Absolutely, thank you. That was fantastic.
Thanks, Andrew. Eric, I have a couple more questions. We are almost 10 after here, so maybe we can try wrapping up if nobody else has any questions. If you do, interrupt me, raise your hand, shout it out, put it in the chat. But a couple quick ones, I think, here. So you chose yellow for the GLYPHICS pieces. Why?
That's an easy question. I tried a bunch of different colors,
Okay.
and the feedback that I got, sorry, I'm going to shut this off.
Okay.
Hopefully it'll help. The feedback that we all came back to was that yellow was the best.
Okay.
However, as I found out later, I would not have chosen to put yellow pieces on a white background.
Yeah.
I don't think you can see them. I don't think they show up on Amazon. They don't show up that well. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that in 2025, when it comes out again, they'll probably be like on a nice light blue background or something like that. So the pieces will pop off.
Got it. Got it. What about, and I want to get to Wesley too. One question though, what about any unexpected challenges in either licensing or bringing to or self-publishing? Is there anything that comes to mind?
I think that's a great question to ask. There's always little things for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
So for licensing, I would say it's the negotiating the contract and what you're willing to give up or not give up. So when I did my first contract, I can tell you without breaking anything confidential that it was a limited contract. So we limited the amount of years. But with my USAopoly contract, they like to do contracts that continually extend. You can't see me motioning, but I'm motioning. There they go forever. They like to do that. And some attorneys would recommend that you don't sign a deal that perpetually renews.
Yeah.
So I had to really think about that. For me, it came down to how much do I trust that company?
Okay.
How good a fit do I think that company is? And for me, they were the perfect fit. If they hadn't been the perfect fit, I don't think I would have been willing to kind of sign my baby over. If you know what I mean?
Yeah. Did they offer or did you request any minimums, guaranteed minimums?
That's pretty standard. Yep. So there's a minimum standard in order to keep the contract, for every annually that they're supposed to meet. It's not really going to be an issue. Most contracts also come with some type of advance, which is taken out against future sales. That's pretty typical also.
Nice.
And those range, by the way, they're typically like, I don't, $2,000 to $4,000, $2,000 to $5,000, kind of depends.
Okay.
On the game and the company.
Thank you for that. Wesley, you can unmute.
Yeah, Eric, given your plan and your track record of having multiple games and like a product line, do you find it disadvantageous to be using Amazon as a channel in that you don't capture any of the customers, or is their market reach so significant that you chose them above like somebody like Shopify or some other outlet channel where you actually capture the customer data?
Thanks, Wesley. Great question.
I think that's a good question. For us, I don't think it's a contest. I don't think there's another platform that even comes close. The reach, Amazon's reach is bigger than Walmart and Target put together. And if you look at the trends, I don't look at the trends, but I do read people that look at the trends. Amazon is just growing. So could I run into an issue if Amazon went offline? I could, right?
Yeah.
If something happened to Amazon, all my eggs right now are in the Amazon basket. That's the downside.
Yeah.
I'm not against expanding into brick and mortar. I did have a distributor contact me because Booty Dice is going so well. They said, we want to show your game to Target.
Wow.
And I talked to my partner. I said, they want to show our game to Target. And he's like, let's wait a little bit longer till we get our other games out. So, it'll happen eventually. But man, I'm not the only one that sees this. 60% of the retail in the country, that's a lot, right? and it's easy. It's kind of, I don't want to say it's easy, but
Hmm.
it's not that painful to do Amazon.
Okay, Andrew. Or, I'm sorry, was
Okay.
that, did that answer your question? You're good? Okay, great. Thanks for, that was a great question too. Andrew.
Okay, this just came to mind.
Yeah.
Can you talk at all about safety testing? I know it's a big difference if you are responsible as someone who's publishing versus having another publisher publish the game.
Oh, thank you so much, Andrew.
Yeah, Andrew, that's an easy one. No matter who publishes it, if there's pieces that are a certain size, or well, you know what, it almost doesn't matter. You kind of have to have it safety tested. It's not that complicated. There's a bunch of companies that do it. You send them the game, they run the tests, and Amazon asks for, I forgot exactly what it's called. It's got initials like CPC or something like that, some type of compliance. You can actually write that little document yourself, and then you just attach the test results from the company. How much does it cost? The testing probably costs, for my games, it costs around $700 or $800. So I would say probably 500 to 1,000, somewhere in there, because what was it? If it's a game or a toy for kids under 12, I think the cutoff is 12. So every single one of my games is going to have to be safety tested. But it doesn't end up actually being a big deal. Amazon won't sell your game though. They'll give you a certain amount of days and say, hey, you're out of compliance. You need to turn in this safety paperwork. And you turn it in and you're good to go.
Fantastic. That's great. Thank you.
I hope that helps.
That's very helpful.
Andrew, that's one of the things that I have found so interesting on this journey is I had that question. I had the question about insurance. Do I need insurance? You know what I found out? Once we hit like $100,000 in sales, I got an email from Amazon that said, you need insurance. You need,
Wow.
$1 million umbrella, liability thing. And if you don't get it in place in the next 60 days, you won't be able to sell until you get it. So those little things come up, right? They're not insurmountable. They're just, you just don't know until you're there that it's going to happen, right? And so those are some of the things I wish I had a mentor that was already doing them, so they could have told me. But you can navigate it. You can navigate that stuff.
It sounds like they do quite a bit of not necessarily hand holding, but a bit of guidance there. They have their own blueprint already, so you just kind of one step at a time, I guess, and keep your fingers crossed. Hope you don't make any huge missteps, but sounds like you're doing great, Eric. Michael has a question for you.
That's the biggest thing.
Hey, Eric, thanks for presenting all this information. It's awesome. Thank you so much. My question from a concern of like trying to protect yourself from like copycats, are you kind of doing a little more IP where you're trying to trademark your name, you're trying to copyright things? I assume you're doing that as well, or?
So I trademarked the name of the company. I trademarked Booty Dice. USAopoly has trademarked Flip 7, and I had trademarked GLYPHICS, and they took that over. They're taking that over. So again, patents for board games, typically not. Products, yes. Board games, typically no. Trademark, absolutely, right?
Okay.
You don't have to. You go on the trademark site and the copyright site, they'll tell you. It just makes it easier if something happens. If you put out a game, or I do a messy table website, and then somebody comes along 2 years later and tries to do it, I really have trademark and copyright protection. However, it doesn't cost that much, and it makes if something legal happens, it makes it easier to establish your claim if you have a trademark and copyright.
Yeah.
And by the way, patents are, I wouldn't recommend trying to write your own patent, but trademark attorneys are expensive. So I actually did the messy table and booty dice.
We're hanging on by a thread. The suspense is killing us. You did, Eric, you froze on us again. There you go. There you go. I think you were about to say you did the trademark for booty dice and
Yep, I did the trademarks for booty dice and for messy table games.
okay. And how painful was that? Coming from a math teacher.
So USPTO has a lot of little tutorial videos and stuff. Even some of them are really pretty good. So
Okay.
also all the trademarks out there are public. So I printed out the Bananagrams trademark and a couple other games that are like my games. And I just looked at their trademarks and I looked how they answered the questions.
Nice.
And you know, and then on one of them, there was one little question. After I submitted it, I didn't know that there was a question. I thought I did everything right. And a trademark attorney for the government reached out and said, "Oh, if you say messy table games, you have to say that you're only using the word games in the title, but you're not trying to trademark the word games for anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like me to do it for you?"
Oh, nice.
And I said, "Yeah, go ahead."
That's
and
great.
That was that.
Oh, that's awesome. And so I also think I'm assuming you're copywriting the instructions as well. Is that correct?
I haven't filed copyright. Now we
Okay.
say that we put the little C on there.
Okay.
And we were actually just, and don't ask me because I'm not the expert on this, but we were actually looking up what the C means versus what the R means versus what the TM means, because just we're printing a new game.
Right.
And again, we put, so registered trademark is the R. So if you see an R, that means it's actually been registered with the government. If you see TM, that is anybody can put TM on their product to just indicate that maybe they're in the process of trademarking it or they'd like to trademark it. The same thing goes with the copyright.
Right. Yeah, because it's again, I'm not an attorney, I'm not a patent agent or anything, but it's my understanding, like with the copyrights, if you submit that as well, that if you do get into a bind, it becomes a lot easier to do the litigation. And I think 3 times damages or something is much easier to get if you copyright it up ahead of time. And I've also read that like if someone does copy you from overseas, that the copyright and the trademarks are much quicker to be able to convince an Amazon to take down the copyright person, right? Versus a patent, because then the patent's like far more, it's all utilitarian, right? There's a lot more to it. So
patents are much more to it. If you hire a patent attorney, it's going to be $8,000 to $10,000 at a minimum. At a minimum,
right.
The copyright protection, like you said, I'm less concerned about it because I'm doing games. If I was doing a product or a toy, I'd be way more concerned about it. I know a guy, he's a great guy. He owns the Good Game Company. His name is Dave Urich. He does games, but he also has an outside toy. It's like a ball thing that you throw back and forth or something. Sling something. Anyway, there is a knockoff. They almost use the same name. It looks the same, and it's coming from China. And he's having a real issue fighting that. So you can't stop it, Michael. You can, you can do the copyright. You can do the. Thank you, Andrew. You can't stop it. You can try to. I know Bananagrams has had issues because they're overseas, they're international, they're all over the place. And so they've done all that. And Rena told me, even though everything is trademarked, everything is patented, everything is copyrighted, it's still difficult.
Yep.
Yeah.
Still difficult. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Well, thank you and best of luck with everything here. And thanks
Well,
for the info. Thanks for the
good
info.
luck to everybody. I mean, I suspect people would not be here if they weren't working on something or already worked on something or trying to get something going or a lot of something's going. You know, maybe it's your dream job to be doing something else like full time. I mean, that's my case. I'm hoping. I love education. Don't get me wrong, but I've been doing it for a while, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, if my retirement job could be doing games, it would be pretty nice.
Well,
Drinking
speaking
sevens, right?
exactly. Speaking of that, Eric, I wanted to ask just two final questions here, and then we can wrap it up. One, what do the next few years look like for you? Do you have, I know you have, I think, 2 more games set to launch in the fall, if I remember correctly. And then how many more games are in your pipeline right now? What's your goal in the next couple of years?
So we're going to launch 2 games this fall. I just showed you one of them. It should be out in September, and the other one should be out in October. We're launching another game in the spring. The artwork is getting done on it. We're super happy with it. It's one of my favorite games of my games that I've done. And we're hoping to maybe launch 2 games next year.
Okay.
But we need to wait and see how these ones go this fall and over Christmas and stuff like that. Booty Dice is going well, and we're hoping that on our Amazon page, for example, when you scroll down for a company like Grandpa Beck Games or, you know, I don't know, some t-shirt company or something, if you scroll down, they'll have their other products that they have.
Right.
So that's kind of their brand page.
Right.
So
right.
when our 2 new games come out, we're going to change our landing page on Amazon. When you scroll down, it'll be like, hey, you know, we're Messy Table. Look at these other games that we have.
Yeah.
And hopefully they're going to feed off each other. That's what we're hoping. So we may 1, 2, 3. That would be 4 games by next spring, possibly 5 by the end of next year. I'm not sure, but I have another 5 or 6 games. The problem is, one of them is a little expensive to make.
Okay.
So we might license it to somebody that has more money than we do, or we might wait until we're generating more money.
Yep.
Because every time we do a game, it's nobody asked this, but I don't mind telling you, it's, you know,
I'm about to, Eric.
It's somewhere to between $20,000 to $30,000 for an inexpensive game.
That's,
you know,
so helpful. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
You're $5,000 or $6,000 if you do the artwork the right way, between artwork and a graphic designer.
Okay.
You're at somewhere say $2 to $225 a game for 5,000 games. So you can do the math on that. You know, for the dice game, they do these compression molds, or for GLYPHICS, they did compression molds where they pour the plastic into it.
Yep.
Those are $3,000 to $4,000 to $5,000. That's a one-time cost.
Yep.
Right? But you still have to pay that.
Yep.
Shipping. One of the reasons we're trying to partner with Mexico is we're hoping in the long run the shipping's going to be less expensive, because containers, like something happens to the Baltimore Bridge, or something happens like COVID.
Yeah.
Ships were stacked up in LA, and the cost of containers went from $6,000 to $25,000 a container. So there goes your entire profit margin. The whole profit margin is.
Eric, can I ask, with the one game that is going to be extra costly to manufacture, what about it? Is it a certain type of material you want to use, or is it just a lot of pieces or parts, or can you share? I don't know if you want to share it, because again, this is going public, just as a reminder.
Well, it's okay, but
okay, great.
It's got a lot of tiles.
Okay.
So you could think of them as Scrabble tiles if you want.
Okay.
But there's a lot of them.
All right.
Each of them is unique.
Oh, geez. Okay.
So you can't repeat them like in Scrabble.
Okay.
So for us to do that, would be a lot of upfront printing costs to get everything set up the right way.
Okay. That's such great information. Thank you so much for your transparency, Eric. Edgar has a question, and then I still have one more question, and then I think we're gonna try to oh wait, Keith has a
Yep.
question too. So we'll get to Edgar and Keith, and then we'll wrap it up.
Thank you, Jen. Eric, considering the amazing graphic work, are you looking into merch, like T-shirts and stuff?
Yes, the short answer is yes. We've only done a little bit. We've only so far done some messy table T-shirts and some caps and stuff. Like my son wears one to school every day. But we're hoping to do more. We're hoping to do more merch. We don't really have the funds right now. Everything's going into the games, but especially this new game because it's so damn cute, right? We'd like to do some merch with it, right, for kids and stuff. So that's a great question. We're not quite there yet. We're kind of at the T-shirt stage.
Okay. And another question, Eric. Considering you're not a border state, you're in Idaho, right?
Yeah.
I'm
landlocked in Idaho.
Yeah.
You're in Idaho. You're connected to, in some way you're connected to Mexico because you mentioned it several times, and the Ashoka, as your king is a native salamander of Mexico, right?
That's correct. Yeah. They're the Mexican walking fish.
Right, Mexican walking fish. Yes. Yeah, they're
They're only native to one lake. They're native to one lake.
Wow.
And it's the lake that was mostly built over to make Mexico City. So that's why they're endangered and losing their habitat.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, I live in Mexico City, so I recognize that very fast.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, Eric. I mean, have you considered promoting that aspect of the game? I'm not sure, it's still in the works and I've only just seen it tonight. Is there some sort of mention of wanting to try and save the species? That's great.
So we put a little blurb at the beginning of the rules.
Oh, great.
And the point of the game is saving axolotls. We also put at the end some facts. One of the facts is that they're endangered, and like Minecraft added axolotls in 2020 because to increase awareness. We brainstormed about doing more, Jennifer. We've brainstormed about, maybe reaching out to some places in Mexico that are directly working to, make better habitat and those types of things, and seeing if we could, partner with them somehow.
Yeah, or like the World Wildlife Foundation, something like that, Federation, WWF, whatever it is. That well, that would be
awesome.
Yeah, that would be great. Well, there's so much potential out there, so many ideas, which brings me to my last question. As somebody that's clearly a super, super creative person and has had experience, according to your bio, playing concerts for the elderly, some 500 concerts, which is beautiful. You're a man of service, which is really admirable. So thank you for that. But you play music. You play Irish music as well, some traditional Irish music. And I saw that you also garden, which is close to my heart. And I'm just curious, outside of the game design, are you tempted to do any additional product licensing in any of these other categories? Do you get the bug all day long as you're doing this gig or taking care of that yard chore?
No, the game ideas come in spurts. I never know when they're going to hit, and sometimes I'll get 2 or 3 at once. But my Monday night Irish session is near and dear to my heart. You go anywhere almost in the world and find an Irish pub and an Irish traditional session. If any of you have ever been to a trad session, in Ireland, or in the States,
Mhm.
wherever, you go in and grab a beer and there's musicians sitting over in the corner playing and singing, and it's a really nice, relaxing, fun time.
Sounds like a blast. Well, that's good. I admire your restraint. Um, okay. I think that's it. I don't want to keep you. I know you're very, very busy. We're already at 9:30. Does anyone have any final words before we wrap this up and let Eric off the hook here? Okay, Eric, just a bunch of thank yous already are in the chat. This was so interesting and so helpful. You were such a tremendous resource, and I can't thank you enough for being here. This is your first time joining us. We would love to see you back again. If you have exciting updates, if you want to play us out on an Irish song one of these days, we're going to have our year anniversary in October or September, sometime around there. So I'm picturing some sort of virtual party. So we might have to reel you in for that, for the entertainment portion. But I just want to thank you again from all of us for taking the time out of your very busy schedule and sharing this really interesting journey. Like I said, many of us are doing both. Some of us are on the fence, and it's always really helpful to hear other people's experiences and journeys, because like I said earlier, there's no one way to get to any of these outcomes, whether it be licensing or self-publishing in your case. So as much information as we can share together, the stronger we'll be, and the better hopefully the world will be, if we're talking grand ideas here. So thank you so
The
much.
sharing ideas is amazing, and I would love to hear more about other people's stories. I definitely plan to come back and join you. Thanks for having me. And like I said, please reach out if you have questions, or if you just want to hang out and chat, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Hit me up on LinkedIn, or just email me, whatever. I'm busy, but I'm probably not busier than most of you. So I'm sure we can figure out a time to chat.
Thank you so much, Eric. And just so you know, one of our really special sessions that we offer, which will be next week, the 15th, I think, next Thursday at 8 p.m., we do our coffee and catch-up sessions. And these sessions are not recorded in order to allow people to speak freely about their products and their projects that they're working on. And it is some of the most valuable. I mean, I was crying after last week. It was such a stellar session. So much incredible information, and people were really pumped up, and it's just really, like you said, that feedback is so important, and I'm so thankful for the group that we've created here. Everyone is super supportive of each other and is always trying to look out for each other and help, and any way that we can. We all come from very different, diverse backgrounds, and I think that adds so much to the feedback and the input, the perspectives that we're able to get. So keep an eye out for that. We would love to have you join those sessions. And then I think our next guest speaker should be the following week. That following, I think it's the 22nd, the following Thursday. So again, next week, coffee and catch up, 8 p.m. You know the drill. And then the following week, hopefully we'll have our next guest speaker. But either way, we will be here 8 p.m. In one format or another. So
That sounds awesome. I probably won't be drinking coffee at 8 p.m., but I think I could show up and hang out with everybody.
In its inception, we had to switch times around a little bit, and we do have a lot of international members. So for them, like Trimond, it's the morning. Where's Wesley? What time is it, Wesley? Where is it? Morning there? I forget. You're in Australia. Is it coffee time?
Yeah, it's morning here, so it's definitely coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but you get the idea.
Maybe you just rename yours cognac.
There you
go. Do your session cognac and catch up.
Cognac and catch up. But you get the idea. It's a casual chat session, so I could have done better with the name, but we do our best. So with that, thanks to everyone. Thanks again to Michelle for setting this up, helping bring Eric to the forefront here of this community. Again, thank you, Eric, for your time. This was really, really great, and I can't wait to see what is in store for you, see how great your games do, see what kind of merch you come up with. I love to see the hat. I'm a hat girly, so you know, don't be shy. Keep posting on LinkedIn so we can keep an update with you. And thank you to all of you wonderful folks for being here and making this another amazing night. You are the best, and I'm just super thankful for all of you. So we'll see you next week.
Thanks, Jennifer. Keep bringing the joy, Eric.
Yes.
Right. Thanks. Bye.
Good
Bye,
night,
Jennifer.
everybody.
Night.
Thank you.
Good
Take
night.
good care.
Thank you.
Good
Bye-bye.
night.
Bye, Andrew.
Adios.
Bye-bye.
Where's that? Okay. I'm leaving. I can't. There it is.